Okay, Monday, September 25th, 8:46 a.m., Maui, Hawaii, and the sun is in gate 46.5. Pacing. Exaltation is the maintenance of proper rhythm that in its instinctive practically avoids radical divergence from successful patterns. The determination to stay with the rhythm, which brings success.
Stay with the rhythm.
Stay with the rhythm.
You're going to get that great success.
Indeed, indeed. And then the detriment is an irrational rejection of the very patterns that have proven successful, determined to say no to the very rhythm that brings success. Which, just in a personal context, like that has been super present today. Like a day or two ago, my partner's ear infection started to clear up, and she was really happy, and she started doing a bunch of yard work, and now it's flaring up again. So, just a reminder of the pacing to do the things that are successful and to understand that effort and dedication. Like Kung Fu, what is it? It's not the one that knows 1,000 moves. It's the one that's practiced one move 1,000 times, or more like 100,000 times, 10,000 times.
10,000.
That is the most deadly. And so, with this 46, it's that over and over and over again to make it to the point where it's no longer you have to think about it. It's just an instinct. And again, you transfer it from your conscious self into your subconscious, where it just becomes automatic, similar to driving, right? Where everyone's practiced driving so much, but if you could go back to remembering when you first started driving, it was all hands and feet and checking mirrors and doing all this stuff. And now you can text and drive, right?
So many people text drive. What's up, Prana?
What's up, Prana?
How you?
Oh yeah, he good. All right, let's go to the I Ching.
So, 6th in the 5th place means perseverance brings good fortune. One pushes upward by steps. When a man is advancing farther and farther, it is important for him not to become intoxicated by success. Precisely when he experiences great success, it is necessary to remain sober and try not to skip any stages. You must go on slowly, step by step, as though hesitant. Only such calm, steady progress, overleaping nothing, leads to the goal. Yeah, so same thing, just like going step by step, taking the necessary movements to have that pushing forward, pushing upward. And when you get to the place where it's like, damn, I got here, this is where I wanted to be, it's like, keep moving forward because there's always going to be something else like to put your vision on. Once you start looking down, like, I did it, I already got it all. Like you think you're up in heaven looking down at earth. That is when you start to come back down to earth, and then you will have a real huge realization like, damn, I really don't have it all yet.
Right. And it uses the example of like staying sober when there's great success. And that's an interesting thing too, is like the success in it of itself is sometimes the thing that causes you to lose your dedication.
Yep.
Right. And I can relate that to back in track and field. I used to do the sprints because I didn't like running for a long time. But I would go and I would win, but the race wouldn't be over, and I would start slowing down. And my coach was like, "You got a bad habit." And I'm like, "What? Okay, what is it?" And he's like, "You win every time, but you don't follow through to the end. Like you got to be going 100% all the way through the finish line. Otherwise, like at some point, someone in a race is just going to overtake you right at the last 10 meters." And that eventually did happen. Of course, I had to learn through my third line. But it's so important not to abandon the disciplines when the success is achieved, because similar to like pumping a well, if anyone's ever used the ground pump and you're pumping a well, when the water starts, you got to pump. And then when the water starts coming out, you have to keep pumping. Because if you stop, then the water goes all the way back down and then you got to restart. And so you got to pump until the pump starts pumping itself. And this is the pacing that's real, that's reminding us of like, hey, when you see the water, great, let it encourage you and invigorate you, and keep pumping. Keep pump.
Yep.
And then so there's also, again, with the detriment, and a lot of the world, I would say, gets caught up in the detriment of these gates. And that's the thing that you really gotta be aware of, because there's certain, you might see some people, some influencer you follow might make an announcement of like, hey, I'm going to be abandoning this thing and I'm going to be doing this new thing. And within the transits, that might bring up something as it's like, oh, like what is that what I'm supposed to do now? And again, it's similar to not just doing something because somebody else has found success in it, not just doing things because the transit is in it. Which, similarly enough, for instance, if your strategy and authority is telling you to shift directions, but the transit is saying determination to stay with the rhythm that brings success, you choose the strategy and authority way. Even though the transit says determination to stay with rhythm and success, that's the exaltation of the transit. Again, you got to listen to your strategy and authority. You got to trust your inner authority, because it's not enough to just be told what to do and what is best. We want people to be able to sail their own ships without us having to come raise their flags and etc. Are exaltations and detriments only related to no. So within and actually I don't know if I don't think it shows prana. Does the transits like in the composites now we have the ability to see how my partner's chart exalts or detriments my gates. Is that in the transit? I don't think so, because I'm scrolling through it and I'm not seeing any in that. So are the exaltations and detriments only related to transits? Yes.
I think his answer yes was to you.
Both.
Oh. Both? Okay. Brana, hit us with the knowledge.
Hit us with the knowledge.
Like, because you just blew my mind. Oh,
Yes, exactly.
let's go.
Hey guys, you hear me?
Yep, got you.
So yeah, every line in the I Ching has an exaltation and detriment, and it's keyed to a specific planet. A planet will fix it in exaltation or detriment, and during the transits, if that planet is in that gate for that line, it'll fix it into that one side, right? So right now we're in 46.5, so it's Moon in exaltation and Neptune in detriment. So if for some reason Neptune happened to be in 46 or in 29 while the sun was in line 5, we would have just the detriment. Or if the moon were in 46 or 29 while the sun was in line 5, we would also get the exaltation there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. My question was, you know how we can see with our composites, we can see. So I'm green, the other person is gold. I can see like little gold exaltations and detriments in my placements. Does that happen for the transits as well?
That's right. It does.
It does. Okay. So, but
It'll fix you into an exaltation or detriment.
But does it show up on the app? I guess is what I'm asking.
Oh, I believe so.
Oh, I mean, I don't think so. I mean, I'm moving through.
It
does. It does, but it's not color coded.
It just shows it.
It just yeah. So
yeah. Okay, so that needs to be fixed. But yeah, it does. It should color code it.
Yeah. Because that would be super helpful. Because when I'm looking at it now, it just looks like, oh, I have a lot of exaltations and detriments that are not normally there. But yeah, if it was color coded, that's dang. So many cool things. So someone asked earlier about a desktop version, and I was like, we got to dial in the app version first so that we have all the stuff so that when we launch the desktop version, it's like ready to run on all cylinders. So let's see. How are lines determined and lines represented by the number after the period and the transit in the number? Hope that makes sense. Not a dumb question. But it's pretty much the similar. How do we move through like degrees of the zodiac, right? You have like a greater gate, and then you have degrees of the gate, which are lines, and just as it moves through them, right? As time goes on and the planet moves, it will then shift from line 1 into line 2 area, and then from line 2 area to line 3 area 4 until it gets to 6, and then after the 6, it'll move on to the next gate. So I think that's what you were asking there. All right. Represented. Yeah, cool. So what's up, Prana? You at work right now?
Yeah, just on my lunch break.
Oh, right on.
Nice.
Right on. Oh, cool. Got you for the T in transits in here.
Yeah.
Nice. So holographic bagel says I have 1.6 moon and 1.2 in design and 1.4 in Mars and personality. Does having all of those ones everywhere mean anything specific, or each one is basically its own separate thing? Well, the planets do have certain influences, right? Like moon is like more, subconscious stuff, driving force. Saturn would be like structured limitation. Mars would be like conflict. And so, again, I feel like with human design, you can get incredibly precise with some of these calculations. But yeah, you'll have the qualities of each of those lines coming through in your chart. Prana, you got anything to add to that?
No, yeah, just that when you have more imprinting on a single gate, there's going to be a higher emphasis on that quality in the overall display of the chart.
Right, and those lines.
Oh,
And it probably also means that there's going to be a greater chance that there's going to be an exaltation and detriment there.
right. Makes sense. So Sean just brought something really interesting through. He said he's heard several times that apparently Ra regretted choosing the words exalted and detriment and felt if he could do it again, he'd use the terms this and that. Curious if others have heard this. If it's true, find it more comfortable looking at it this way. As detriment makes my mind go with this. This is bad versus this is different. Oh, that's interesting. What do you got to say about that, Prana?
Yeah, Roz definitely said that. I've heard that before. His whole thing is, human design is non-moral, right? It's not about good or bad. This is just the mechanics of how we are, and we tend to look at detriments as a society as negative things, and we tend to look at exaltations as good things. But you could have a detriment that's beneficial. You could have an exaltation that's harming you for some reason. There's
Right.
You have to take it with a grain of salt and look at the greater context of the entire design.
Beautiful. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. One way that I've kind of worked it out in my mind is my relationship with being bad in the eyes of society, and how a lot of the ways that I'm bad in the eyes of society is actually like really good for me in my own life. But because of the context and the contrast of society, it can appear as bad. And so naturally me, I'm just trying to always figure out ways to make the most out of what I got. And so exalting and detriment, in terms of catching my eye, I've trained my mind through like Reiki healing and martial arts to neither react to good things or bad things, quote unquote, in a way that detracts my level of presence. And the good things, quote unquote, or the exciting things can detract from presence and the ability to consciously follow a strategy and authority, as well as the bad things, right? And in some ways, a lot of the times for me, like the bad things actually focus me up even more than the good things. The good things I get kind of loose. And but when there's a quote unquote bad thing, that's actually usually really good for me because then it kicks my ass into gear.
Exactly, and you just answered that question without even.
What's that? Does that mean too much of a bad thing can be good?
Yep.
Yeah.
It can lead you in a better direction.
Yeah.
Like for me, I was smoking way too much pot, and then I was like, I gotta stop smoking pot, and now I'm training way more kung fu. So.
Right. And that's the beauty of what Ra is talking about is, and one of our brothers, Source Radiance, he talks about, he's very much so about this thing like source consciousness and unity consciousness, where there is no good and bad. And we do live in a physical world. We do live in a polarized world. And so there very much so is a good and a bad. Like there's a way to view human design from a polarity perspective, right? In association with other people, like a penta. And then you have the unity consciousness, where again, there is no good and there bad. It's not moral, and human design also exists in that realm. And so it's another lens, yet another lens to change the flavor and change how you use human design. Because again, no, it's not better to live in unity consciousness, because some people are in unity consciousness and some people are in and they're in unity consciousness and they never come into the physical world. They never come into the polarized duality world. And some people are forever in the duality world and they're never able to tap the unity consciousness level. And the quote unquote only thing that sucks about that is that if you're stuck in one or the other, you're not experiencing the full spectrum. And then there's a level of separation that happens between us and them, right? That is, to me, is a detriment, right? Like, you got the business people, the scientists that are like, all those hippies over there are woo-woo and stupid. And then you got the hippies over here who are like, all these people and scientists in school are idiots. And it creates this contrast where you're not able to sit at the same table and drop your own paradigm to be able to actually have conversations. A lot of the times the contrasts are so stark that it creates conflict, where it doesn't always need to be conflict. It doesn't have to be consumed by conflict. So non-duality is a great way to look at things, for me at least. Yes, go berserk or reach enlightenment.
Goes berserk to reach.
Oh yes, goes berserk to reach enlightenment. Yeah, right. Which, that's kind of like a contradiction, because like the enlightenment and the state of enlightenment is just the acceptance of where you're at, and that's the magic of human design. Is it gives people an opportunity to finally accept, oh, this is why I always do that thing, and it's a quote unquote detriment. Oh, that's why other people see it and they're annoyed by that. But how can I embrace that detriment? How can I embrace that? That does make it so much more simple. So we just start calling it this. So then question, what is this and what is that?
In sign language? This, that.
So this is to the left?
Or this, that. Doesn't matter.
Oh,
Go
okay.
either way.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It doesn't matter. It's just like this or that.
Got it.
Well, however, it's this and that.
This. Interesting. Yeah, it seems like this is like where I'm at, and that is over there, like further away from me.
Certain lines don't even have an exaltation or detriment.
Yeah, like we have
For now.
like we have one in 25. So let's go ahead and move to gate 25. Line 5 is recuperation, which is when innocence is sapped off by its vitality. Healing is the first priority. So what we have there, and we do have a fixed in that, which is the ability to recognize the inner meaning of an affliction and to withdraw until it is healed. The power of the spirit to heal and be healed, which the contrast to that is hypochondria and the need to be healed by others, the weakness of the spirit, which requires healing from others. So that is requiring healing from others. This is the power of the spirit to heal and be healed, which is the necessity of need. And I talk about this a lot, and the difference between like someone saying, I need this from you, as the difference or contrasted with, I want this from you. Like, need for me has this energy of like, I can't do this for myself. I need something from you, which a lot of people are able to do that thing. They don't need it from you. They're able to do that thing for themselves, right? Respect themselves, keep themselves healthy, but they're putting the need on you. And that's just a projection. And that is full suck ass situation. And so it's really interesting to watch, especially in the conscious community, asking people like, hey, what are your needs? But they're not discerning the difference between needs and wants. Like, I need you to be more open-minded. It's like, well, do you need me to be more open-minded, or do you want me to be more open-minded? Right? And also, where are you closed-minded about the way that I am living? Right? And so there's all this magical grammar Nazi type things that we can do that, again, draw connections between the polarized world and the non-polarized world, right? So yes, need and want are mixed up all the time. I've been teaching myself who I am. I've been teaching my kids this, yes. Big time. And it's great. They say it's easier to raise healthy children than to fix broken men, something like that. So we got to start it at the kid level.
Mhm.
She goes, that's why I stopped doing readings. I need you to tell me who I am. Was draining. Yeah. Big. I usually like, I love when people do that because I'm just like, but I rarely get people like that nowadays, which is awesome. So, well, some due to outer planets not having been, there may be years, there in many years, but others like the 25.4 with only a Venus existed in no polarity. Ah, yes. Here in the most mystical of positions, there is neither an exaltation or detriment for truth. Oh yeah, so that was yesterday.
No planet in detriment.
We had no planet in detriment, which is fun.
Yeah.
That is not there. This is the only thing that's here. That's so funny, man. I'm gonna have way too
Break
much.
my brain.
I'm gonna have way too much fun with that. Holy crap!
Yeah.
All right, give us the I Ching.
I Ching.
Actually, Prana, real quick, you got any feedback on this before we read the I Ching?
Yeah, no, just that, the gates with lines fixed in only exaltation or detriment mean that the one that's missing is one of those outer planets like Pluto or Neptune or Uranus that just haven't been around to get into that gate long enough for there to be people carrying that in the world. But eventually it'll get back there. Maybe in 100 years or so, we'll have that exaltation or detriment again.
That's why you mean yet.
Yeah.
That's what I get it. For now, that's what it was. Yeah. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Man, that would just be so cool. You know that in Avatar, there's this scene where Aang and the gang go into this library and there's this like planetarium thing and they're able to like turn this wheel and the planets would like shift like 4,000 years into the future and you get to see how everything shifted. I'm just like, that would be so cool to eventually build a room like that where you could come get your neutrino app and like put your phone on the pedestal and then it would like arrange the stars to the way that you were born and then you could like turn a wheel 88 degrees and then it would like go back to your design and then you can go like into the future. And anyway, it's just so wild. I just thought about that for some reason. So if it's neither this nor that, the line just exists as it is. So it's like what we got right now, or what we had yesterday was a line fixed in exaltation. So it exists as a binary, right? But currently, because 25 or 51 is in 425, we have it fixed. I'm trying to see why.
I don't think it's fixed actually. I look at my chart and it does not say that it's fixed.
What?
Yeah, check this out. 25.5 doesn't say it's fixed.
What?
But I also have it. So maybe that's a glitch in the app.
Maybe. Yeah, can anyone else check their app and see if they have the 25.5 in exaltation? Maybe it's because I have the 51.
That's why I'm thinking. But I have both 25 and 51 and it's not fixed.
Yeah, I have 51 in my Venus. So that should be okay, so that makes sense. So that should be then this is good. We're troubleshooting.
That's fine.
Yeah, that makes sense. So then that should be a green arrow. So for me, okay, great. This is awesome information. Prana, are you gonna relay this to Alexander, or would you like me to do that because you're working?
If you have the time, yeah, go ahead. I'll get to it sometime or another if you don't.
Okay, cool. I can go ahead and shoot him a message with that. Yeah, so I was looking at it in the transit and I couldn't find it, but I have it in mine. And so my 51 in Venus is exalting this fifth line. Okay. Cool. Well then, so it's not for everyone. Great. This is some really good distinctions. Thank you guys for sharing and helping. So I'd love to see a VR body graph one day. I actually thought my solar plexus was on the left side of my body for a little bit. Wasn't paying attention in health class, open head and arms. Yeah. So the VR body graph is actually very interesting because that's something that, I see coming for us in this evolved community. Like I want coders, I want designers, people that work in that world, because I think it would be really great if instead of, hosting this in Discord, if there was some kind of way we could all put VR goggles on and we could just like be in a VR room together and we could be interacting in that way. I think that would be super cool, which is feels like it's a couple years off, but it could also be expedited based off of what happens. But that's always been one of my visions, is to infiltrate the VR world with human design, because again, like how do we, in a world that's becoming more virtualized and less attached to the body or less embodied in general, how can we then, because if we were in VR together, we could do like exercises and you know, quote unquote physical stuff with ourselves, but together. And that's something that I think is really important. So
So I've been pretty excited to get to this gate in this line because I have it in my chart. I have 25.5, and let me see real quick here. In Saturn. So when reading this out of the Ravi Ching, the recuperation, I can see like where I was a year ago during this time and how I was in that, or the detriment, like wanting to be healed by somebody or like the person that I was with, and how I started my journey of healing myself rather, or using my own spirit to heal myself and to be healed, not relying on somebody else. So let's go ahead and read this. 9 in the 5th place means use no medicine in an illness. Incurred through no fault of your own, it will pass of itself. An unexpected evil may come accidentally from without. If it does not originate in one's own nature or have a foothold there, one should not resort to external means to eradicate it, but should quietly let nature take its course. Then improvement will come of itself. So to me, it's like, when I think of nature, I think of the connection that we have innately to nature as humans, and how there's a reciprocity that comes from that. Like nature could probably exist on its own. It can absolutely exist on its own without us. But if we tend to nature, how we can grow these things that will utilize our bodies, and how we can utilize the land for great things. And knowing when there's an unexpected evil or a sickness that comes later, product that comes from without and into our bodies, knowing how to just let it take its course, rather than like, oh, I gotta take this medicine, or I gotta expect this person to heal me, or I'm gonna go see this other person to help me get this out of my body. It's like, no, like focus on what it is, where it came from, and how you can take care of it and heal it yourself. If you've got this 25, what I would assume as well. Inside.
we don't take choices.
I know, and I will forget if I don't do it.
Oh, I'm in my heretic today. This is my one line in heretic. I'm about to lump somebody.
Almost done.
No,
I mean,
like, gotta get the thought out.
right, yeah, I agree. But it's, again, it's for me, like looking at this, it's pacing. Like you got to go at your own pace.
Yeah.
Because if you try to keep pace with somebody else, it typically ends to your detriment. And then also you fail to meet people that are at the pace that you're at, right? Because you're trying to keep pace with somebody else, and then you lose your own pace, and then you have to blame the other person as to why you shouldn't send the fucking message.
Great. Oh, it's great. Anybody else got 25.5 out there? We could probably plug this back in so we're on the microphone still. Oops. Daniel Knight. True Co. Is it Co? You've been saying Co. So I don't know if it's
Staying it. One thing I always heard too about like staying in your own lane is, and this kind of applies for people with the defined hearts in a way. Because it's like one of my teachers would say, like, go the extra mile. They definitely had a defined heart. Go the extra mile because there's no traffic on the extra mile. But that's another thing about another way to look at that is like, follow your internal GPS.
Yeah.
Because there's not going to be as much people that are bugging you on the road to where you want to go, because you're all heading to the same place. Like it's funny, like when I'm traveling to festivals, or when I have traveled to festivals before,
and I'll see cars that I'm like, oh, this person is also going to the festival.
Yeah.
It's exciting because
I
it's
know.
like now we're in a caravan because we're all going to the same place.
Yup.
Where you going?
Oh, nowhere. Just
Oh, just cool.
doing things. 25.6 and 25.4.
Yeah, a lot of 25.
25.5. Where's your 25.5 located in your chart?
Always like water.
Mine's in my design Saturn. Which, okay, so what is Saturn?
Saturn is
Or
like
design Saturn.
Oh, 25.1. My falls.
Saturn is like the planet of like limitation. So you know about like Saturn return
Uh-huh.
is like at 30.
Yeah.
It's one that kind of like imposes these. You sure about that? Was that you sure about that?
Yeah.
That's all I can say after I say you sure about that.
Is like this
very
how you say it's this like check, check of like, are you at the right pace, right?
Mhm.
Are you again, it just like imposes those limitations. Let's see what it says in neutrino design, because it has like very vague references for Saturn. Discipline, judgment, the restraint. Yeah. So Saturn is like the and I'm pretty sure Saturn is Kronos as well, who's the father of Zeus, and Zeus is Jupiter, and so it's like grandfather energy that like comes in and is like either gonna judge this is good or this is not good, or you're on your path or you're not on your path. 25.1.
I was reading
Selflessness.
25.5.
Yes.
Aries for me.
So Aries, or is Aries? Is that, you mean Mars? I'm thinking Mars. Because Aries is associated with Mars, like the ram and conflict
yeah.
and whatnot. What is
So much
TY?
Ineos. TY.
I don't know that acronym.
Mars for me. NTY.
Oh, there it is. It says Mars right there. Duh.
Or they just changed it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I think you see how much I've accepted my stupidity sometimes. It's like
Just being a martyr.
I'm just it's like, oh no. Oh, Kronos, the god of
The
time.
duality. You can't be so
It's the
smart
duality.
without being so stupid.
Exactly. Well, okay, cool. So let's end the transmission here, and then we'll hang out for a little bit longer because
Cool. Yeah,
we're
gonna
moving at
have
that
fun.
slow pace.
We had throw an I Ching and a few times.